First of all, I guess two-part question, like, can you expand on what DCCs go to? And the second part would be, are you looking at tweaking some of those to incorporate some of these? So like one owner doesn't have the onus of that $80,000 bill and then everyone else gets it. Like, is there a way to restructure that so it's more beneficial?
DCCs are actually like a kind of a higher order tool. And so I'll explain that a little bit. There's sewer, water, road, park, storm drainage projects that are like either whole neighborhood or sector of the city related or whole city related. Say we wanted to 4-lane Richter Street in the future. That's something that benefits like a large area of the city. So we use the DCC program. So many new units pay a share towards that. Plus there's an amount built into that DCC charge for existing users that are benefiting from that as well. So when that road actually gets built, maybe 50% or 60% of that road, the need for that was related to new growth. And then 40% is paid by existing users, which would come from taxation. But maybe we also, to bring down the cost, want to subsidize that even a little more, and we call that an assist factor. What we do is when we update our community plan, it's every 5 to 10 years, we'll do an update to the DCC program. And the DCC program, then we say, here's the major projects that are funded by DCCs, and figure out for each project how much funding is required. And do we need to buy land, or will developers give us some of the land because the land along that, maybe it's a corridor, will get redeveloped. We figure all that out to the best of our ability, and then review with the home builders and the Urban Development Institute and go through almost like line by line, haggle over the cost of it. Sometimes to make the program more affordable, projects need to come out of it. It's funny that everyone says there's no transparency to it, but I sat in 15 meetings before the last update where we talked about, there's a material cost in this road project that I think is unreasonable. Why is it there? What's behind it? And we have to explain that to the development community. So from that perspective, I would say there's transparency. But if you're out there in the community, you hear the term DCC and people complaining about it, it's a tough one to sort of wrap your head around. That's a really simple DCC explanation. The whole development industry is basically paying towards specific global community projects. Good example of that would be DeHart Park that opened last weekend. A portion of that was built using development cost charge park construction money. And we would be able to say, if you said, how much development money went into that, our team could say, the amount of new units that were happening in this neighborhood, we charged them this amount, or this amount was contributed to that, and taxation, which was like the existing area residents who benefit, paid X amount towards it as well. So it'd be great if there was actually like a really transparent way to see that. And that's one of the problems. Like there's a lot of smart accountants and engineers who work on it behind the scenes. If we did a video every year that explained here's where your DCCs went this year, there'd probably be better buy-in from the development community too.
Yeah, I don't think anyone can really dispute that it's not being spent in good projects. I was just at the DeHart Park a couple of days ago with the kids. It's amazing, So I think when we had you on last show, you said something along the lines of we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot in terms of it's becoming a very expensive city, but it's because we're reinvesting in these amazing amenities. And that's just like a perfect example of it. You allocate those DCC fees where you want, and you're never going to make everyone happy.
Not just make people happy, but keeping people informed. Are people really going to want to watch an accountant breaking down the numbers, or even a video of that?
I think when you show where it's going and how much, who's paying for what, that's kind of interesting. But the line by line stuff, is a little bit boring. Yeah. And it's actually an interesting time though with DCCs. I find it interesting, but I'm a nerd, so maybe not so much. So in the new Liberal government's housing platform, and I'm assuming that they're going to be acting on this, they had a commitment to cut DCCs in half.
Does that have anything to do with them? How do they do that?
We're going to see, I guess.
Yeah. So what's your opinion on that? Are they just going to pay the other half?
They said that they would, for the half that we're not collecting, they will reimburse with a formula. But I think that formula means that we only recover about half of what we're giving up.
Yeah.
So we're still missing about 25% of that. So that certainly impacts the community. And hopefully there's some room there as the implementation happens on that to figure this out. I think, again, if housing is the priority, and that's one of the tools that we have to help ease the crunch for developers and home builders, that's fine. But we hear from the community constantly here in Kelowna that you're not building enough infrastructure fast enough.
Yeah, yeah.
And so then if we're not funding it properly, that makes it even truer than it is today. And then, I mean, I think where we get behind is times like COVID, where, you know, prices went through the roof. Things were so unpredictable that we were really unproductive in our infrastructure delivery programs for a few years while we were still building housing, but we couldn't predict, you know, some of those costs were insane, or, you know, we just weren't sure whether or not we could complete a project. And we've ramped that up again this year, next year, the year after, and you see way more infrastructure built. And driving around right now, you can already see that in the community.
Definitely.
So hopefully, we're made as whole as possible on that, so that the community and the infrastructure side of things that people think less about doesn't suffer.